We can't allow any further delay.
Well, hello and welcome to the First Alert Weather Podcast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson here at KPTV. This is episode 164, and I'm joined by Payton and Camila. Payton Major and Camila Ortiz. How are you two doing?
Good.
Solid.
We're in the middle of our work day. No, Payton is done. Payton is heading out on vacation. Are you excited?
I am. Somewhere so warm. Just kidding. It's freezing there, so.
Like literally freezing, or you mean like
Yes.
it feels like it's freezing? It's really cold.
Yes, I'm going to be that weirdo on the plane that couldn't fit her jacket into her luggage, so I have to just like lug it around, but it's okay.
Oh, the 5 carry-ons type person.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Well, we're going to miss you. I mean, it's just going to be really mild weather while you're gone, so we'll see if it gets exciting later.
I haven't been in a podcast in 2 months, and I want you to know I have been working.
What? 2 weeks, you mean?
No, I think it's been like 2 months.
What?
Yes.
I'm calling HR right now. I'm dialing it up. Something's wrong.
Whoa.
Well, I've been producing them behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And doing like interviews and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't been like, live, I guess.
We've got you live here.
Yeah.
That's good. Speaking of live, we're recording this at, it's about 7 p.m. We like to do this often between the 6 o'clock show and the 8 o'clock show when it's all quiet in the studio behind Camila. I'm in the little recording closet. And so we like to record this during this time. So it's Wednesday evening. It is the 3rd of December. December is here, and we got a bunch of stats for you. We were going to talk about some possible heavy rain. We might actually have some weather to talk about. Otherwise, it's been kind of quiet. So this is episode 164. You can see the screen share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm hitting like 20 close buttons on my computer. All right, yeah. So we're going to talk about winter has arrived meteorologically. And it's more or less winter. It's cold. It was in the 40s today. It's looking kind of warm. Not kind of. It looks like a blowtorch warm first half of December. And that means no mountain snow. We got the stats to back that up. We've got a great talk with Gail Zuro. And that is with PBOT, right? Oh, no, City of Portland Emergency Management. Is that correct?
Yeah, Multnomah County. Mm-hmm.
Multnomah County, close. I knew I was somewhere in the middle of Portland.
Somewhere in the realm.
She will clear all that up. Peyton's got a great interview lined up with her in a few minutes. We're going to cover a term of the week, kind of terms of the week, and then some viewer photos. Let's just jump right into it. Peyton, you can do this part because you did a bunch of these graphics.
We'll roll through quick because November was pretty uneventful. We had 63 as our warmest day in the early part of the month. Our average was, give or take, 50 degrees. I think it was 49.7, which was above normal, specifically because the lows were so warm. Coldest night, 34, and that happened right before midnight on December 1st.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because before it was 36, and I think that was the 15th and 17th. Wow, pretty impressed when you remember those dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nerd.
And then rain, 4.53 inches. It is below normal by around an inch.
And was the temperature, what did you say was 5th warmest or 8th warmest or 10th warmest? What did you say for November?
It was the 5th warmest until we had that random cold night before, which dropped us down, I think, 8th. It was the top, one of the, in the top 10.
In the top 10, so it was a pretty warm November.
Yeah.
Camila, you want to take this one?
Sure, I actually did. I got a Facebook comment.
Those can be nasty.
They were just like, because Ward and I over the weekend, we were talking about December's coming, the beginning of winter, and someone was like, respectfully, doesn't winter actually begin on, the 21st or whatever? So, yeah, so we have a couple different definitions. Typically, we go by the meteorological winter, right? Because that's how record keeping is done. We consider December, January, February, the winter months. It's just easier that way. It encompasses, the 3 months. It's also when we see the coldest temperatures of the year. Right. And that's just kind of what we've used. So astronomical winter, on the other hand, which is where kind of some people can get confused, that's based on the sun angle. So astronomical winter starts after the winter, on the winter solstice, and then it ends on the spring solstice, or the spring equinox, excuse me. So, and again, if you look at those dates, I mean, March 20th. I mean, does that feel like a wintry time to you? Yeah. No. So to me, that's why I think, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, the meteorological parameters make a little more sense.
There's a third definition too, the solar winter, which would be based only on the sun angle. And that would say we're almost halfway through, right? If you're only if you're talking about how much, energy is coming in from the sun and how low or high the sun is in the sky, I mean, we're bottoming out here the next week or two.
So then it would technically start when? In November?
It'd be a month and a half before. Yeah, around
Yeah,
early
November.
November 1st.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Isn't
then
that
that
why-
seems too early.
Isn't that those first few days of February? One day is called Imbolc or Imbolc, and that's like a pagan thing of like, that's the end of solar winter,
Oh,
like the second or third.
yeah.
One of our viewers, I'm sure,
Interesting.
will clear that up. I know Carl; he's a big weather geek. He's big into the phenology and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
Carl
Yeah.
Bonner.
Nice.
Okay, so there we go. A little more.
All right.
Oh, pretty! We've got the pretty December stats with the gifts in the
yes.
background.
But the info is quite dreadful. You ready for this?
Bring us
Coldest,
down.
cloudiest, darkest, and wettest month of the year. Welcome to December.
Oh.
We just got to do it. At least we get presents, right?
That's
Okay,
right.
so
Christmas
47.
lights.
Yeah, and Christmas lights. That's more important. And family, and but more importantly, presents today. 47.
And coworkers.
And really good treats and desserts.
And treats.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. Okay, 19 is the average number of rainy days. It sounds about right. And you want to click to the next one, Mark.
Oh, that's I'm
look
in
at
charge, I forgot.
snow.
I was swallowing.
An average December, this is over the last 30 years, by the way, at 1.2 inches. I actually updated this graphic previously. It said 1.5. I don't know what average that was pulling from. It could have been 5 years old, 10 years old. We don't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
But
Ooh,
yeah,
I
but
think
it
I said
has
this wrong.
decreased.
So this is the 30-year average?
For the
yes.
month of December only.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep.
I figured this
And-
was the average dating back to 1940, which it would probably be much higher, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Could be a
might
little higher, yeah.
Yeah.
But not dramatically higher, but it's less than, even way back
Yeah.
then, it's less than 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches.
Okay.
Yeah. And then out of the last 10 Decembers, we've had 5 of them have some measurable
Right there.
snowfall. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, I mean, it could be as little as 1/10 of an inch, which by the way is measurable snowfall. It can't be less than that, or else it's not measurable. To nearly 4 inches in 2021.
I got to
Those
tell
are
you,
Christmas.
I keep
Right?
weather records at home too. I have them back quite a ways, and it's tough to measure. They do 1/10 of an inch. I always round it to a half inch. Oops,
Yeah.
probably shouldn't tell people that. But I try to round some up,
Exposed.
some down, so it's half and half. I don't want to have a bias of too high or too low.
Yeah, it's really hard to measure snow because it's got to be right when it falls almost. But if it melts at all, then it's lower, and
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult.
We should do that maybe coming up for how to measure snow properly. We have some old graphics for that. We could grayify them.
Yeah, that's a good
Perfect.
idea.
Something
Task
else,
for next week.
the amount of snow there doesn't necessarily represent the difficulty in life. For example, it looks like 2021. Oh, that was kind of a harsh one, right? We had a lot of trouble. As I recall, that was the one where some people did have heavy snow, like the day Christmas and the day after. It was kind of this heavy, wet onshore flow snowfall. I remember like Newburgh had like 7 inches, but PDX had very little. But that was in the days after Christmas, and life kind of continued because, as I recall, each afternoon the roads were pretty bare. Whereas in 2022, that was where we had a big cold Arctic air mass. We had a high, I believe, of 24. It started snowing briefly and then immediately changed to ice pellets and all freezing rain. Remember, the airport was kind of shut down the day or two before Christmas. Andy Carson drove with his son all the way to Phoenix. They rented a car and drove instead of waiting for a plane.
Yeah.
So look at
Oh
the
my
havoc
goodness.
the 0.2 inch of that plus ice caused that year.
Yeah,
And
it's
2017,
relative.
2017 was perfect. It was a slightly messed up forecast, but for normal people, it was perfect because we expected freezing rain on Christmas Eve. Cold air was just thick enough. We got 1 inch of snow just like right after dark Christmas Eve. It was beautiful. You know what I mean? Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then it changed to freezing rain by midnight. It was all icy the next morning.
I had a video of that actually. I think from high school.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
In 2017, I bet.
Way to make us feel old, Payton. You just snuck that right in there.
I just remember it came up on my memories. It comes back. Okay, December rain. I mean, it is the wettest month of the year.
Ooh,
This
those are some
is
wet
really
months.
interesting. Yeah, because it's weird because the last 4 have been real wet.
Yeah.
And the previous 4 before that, it's 2017, 2020, were drier than normal. I mean, not by a ton, but
All right.
still.
And no rain yet this month. We're recording this on the 3rd. Did I say that? I hope I didn't say the 4th earlier. It's a 3rd. If I said the 4th.
I think it's episode 164, so maybe that's what you're
164, and yeah, okay. Let's not worry about that. We know it's a
We
3rd.
had our first frost at PDX, finally.
Yeah, that finally happened. Yeah.
Just barely 31 degrees.
Yep. December 1st.
And I was looking, Brian Schmidt, who's on one of the local weather groups, Facebook groups, he pointed out how much of the metro area did not have a frost that morning. So there's still a large part of the city, only being 31 degrees plus a good chunk of the city didn't have freezing. most things are still growing just fine within the inner urban areas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we really are waiting still for real frost, like 28, 26 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was good, Payton and Camila. So let's talk about the warm weather coming up. So, wow, okay. This
Mild.
is the CPC Outlook, Climate Prediction Center, 6 to 10 day outlook, forecast temps. This graphic is always kind of interesting because it doesn't represent technically like, where it's a darker red or a deeper blue, like colder. It just means, it is colder than warmer and warmer than normal. But what it means is higher confidence as the colors get deeper. So that's highest confidence is there in the real orange red area. I'm slightly colorblind. I think that's orangish reddish. Right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. And then blue. So there's a pretty clear signal. It's going to be very warm here through this first part of the month. So I like to use this graphic here as we get into winter. The 4 biggies that can cause us big havoc here west of the Cascades. What's likely between now and December 13th, so 10 days out. We don't see lowland snow, nothing below 2,000 feet. We sure don't see an Arctic blast. There was some excitement twice in the last 2 weeks or so, especially the GFS, but pushing Arctic air down into the Pacific Northwest. Like, could it happen? It would last for a day and a half on some of those model runs, but ensembles never really supported it. Windstorm, could we see windstorm? We're watching next week. Right now, I don't see deep area of low pressure, no model showing that, but with this Pineapple Express atmospheric river coming up, we can tend to get a gusty southerly wind just as little waves pass by. So I could see gusts to 40 at some point in the next week. And widespread flooding, I changed that from unlikely to possible because it's looking more obvious like there is going to be some sort of atmospheric river, and not one of those little ones. It's like category 1. But Payton, what did you see? You said
At 4 out of 5. No, it's not like a hurricane, but yeah.
Cat 4 is headed our way. No, just that we could have a real one. So we'll talk about that in a second. What we do need, we have pretty much no snow on the ground. This is up at the ski areas. Some folks are sitting on a ski pass waiting to ski, thinking, it's a La Nina winter week. That'll get us started early. Well, that didn't happen. This is inches at the bottom of the Poochie Lift. I just updated this, and notice the date. Oops. Oh, there it is. It's on the top, December 10th. And you're thinking, wait a minute, Mark, you can't predict the future. This is next Wednesday. But I took a guess, just so we wouldn't have to do this graphic twice. I took a guess that next Wednesday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there'll be no snow on the ground up there at 5,400 feet or almost nothing. So let's just call it 0. Look at the difference from the last 3 years on the December 10th, 2 to 5 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that comes true, then it'd be the worst. It'd be the worst in 10 years.
Well, it'd be the lowest since 2002 is what I've looked at. So, not a good start.
Yeah.
Okay. Snow levels stay high. There is a little dip. There'll be a few inches, maybe higher parts of meadows and timberline, maybe the top of Ski Bowl on Saturday and Sunday. But we're headed into an atmospheric river here. All right. So, look at this. Water vapor.
Drama.
2 things. Well, that's what we do. You can clearly see the circulation. There's a large upper level high out here. The heights are quite high with this, which you'll see in a second. So it's sitting here off the west coast. So systems are approaching, but they're being diverted around. We're getting the backside stuff, kind of the leftovers as the flow comes in from the west-northwest, which can be pretty wet for us, but it's never stormy. There's no deep areas of low pressure coming down like this. The second thing I did notice, I could see it on the visible as well. Do we not have contrails in here as well? Yeah, look how quickly they appear. They're getting twisted around the high. So if you believed in the chemtrails conspiracy, you would have to believe that they spray out over the ocean as well. It's a lot of planes. I don't know why they would be spreading all those nasty chemicals out over the ocean, unless they're trying to kill the fishes too and destroy our livelihoods.
Destroy the marine life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, look at the high right now, 500 millibar height. The colors are the anomaly. It's not the actual heights. And you can see much higher than normal heights here. That's why we're not getting the storm. And it's 591 high. If that was summertime over here, we'd have a heat wave. So what changes? Okay, so I did do 2 loops here. I try to avoid the loops because nobody likes it when things go in circles. But what you're going to see is from this point all the way through next Thursday, big picture, the high flattens and we get into the strong westerly flow. Here we are, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's trying to amplify again later next week. We'll see if that's really the case. Other models say it doesn't re-amplify, but this westerly flow, which is very wet for us. All right, so you got the idea there? The ridge is still kind of there the whole time. It's just smooshed down. All right, and then this is integrated water vapor transport. And this is from the Euro. This just shows Monday morning through Thursday afternoon. Clearly, there's an atmospheric river aimed at us. A big question, where does it go north and south?
Yeah.
to get a flood or some, heavy, heavy rain, you've got to have the atmospheric river sitting over you for a day or more. Sometimes the big floods, it's 3 or 4 days. Something's going to happen. I think somebody's going to get flooding unless models change a bit. And models are really latching onto that. Here's the Euro 24-hour precip. A lot of red here, right?
Yeah.
1.5, 2 inches or more in a 24-hour period here between this is, I've got the weekends highlighted here this coming weekend and the following weekend. And notice even beyond, there are not many gaps. We're in the wet pattern for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, let's say the ensemble average of the Euro saying 1 to 1.5 inches in a 24-hour period, and maybe following would be like another inch in the next 24-hour period. So that's quite a bit of rain. That's the ensemble average. GFS is about the same, 1.5, maybe a little higher. And look at some of these high numbers are big spikes here. So in fact, the operational GFS has 3.5 inches of rain over us in a 24-hour period. So I think something is up for somewhere over and west of the Cascades for early next week, Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think we're probably going to talk about flooding somewhere. We just don't know where yet, but that's your first alert that something is probably up. Actually, these numbers surprise me. The GFS ensemble average. See, the resolution is, it's not the best resolution, but it can see mountains. It's saying, could be 5, 6, 7 inches of rain in the mountains. This is all precip through next Thursday.
Yeah.
Only about an inch of that is before Monday. So most of this is later Monday afternoon through Thursday. Notice in the valleys, remember the resolution isn't so great, maybe 3 inches in the valleys. A little higher resolution, the Euro ensemble. Same idea, but with the higher resolution, it can do better orographics over the mountains and see how it has 10, 11, or 12 inches over some of the mountains. And remember, this is all rain, no snow. So that is a lot of water.
Yeah.
If this were to actually occur, we would have flooding on some of the major rivers coming off the Coast Range and the Cascades. That said, reservoirs are pretty low, so they can capture a good chunk of the water. Notice in the valleys here, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. Okay.
I bet.
Yeah, and then the horizon model, we're testing this one, the AI model from Climavision. Actually, it's not much different than the Euro. It's heavier to the north. It all depends on where the fire hose is aimed. 3 inches in the valleys, but look at all those areas with 8 to 10 inches plus in the mountains around us. This would be the wettest, 2 to 3 day period that we've seen in a while, right? We didn't have anything like this in November. Some winters we don't get this at all. So this is pretty wet.
Yeah.
10 inches of rain, 9 or 10 inches, Detroit and Cougar. This is a 2-kilometer resolution model, so I can see the mountains even better. And you can see basically how much better it gets with the higher resolution. Even if these solutions are all about the same, you just get a better view with higher resolution. Okay, so we will see. We'll be watching that closely. As for snow in the mountains, you want to see 850 millibar temps. That's the red line here at 0 or lower. It is pretty much above that line all the way until that middle weekend of the month. Not this weekend, not all next week. It's warm all through next week. But the ensemble averages, the green, finally seems to want to get down around the passes about that weekend of the 13th, 14th. So could we ski that weekend? Maybe, but only if the colder models are correct, saying, okay, we get a bunch of snow next Thursday or Friday. We may have to wait beyond that time. And is this the Euro? What do I have? Oh, yeah, it says Euro.
Yes.
Look at the operational run. Wait, how can it be above the whiskers?
That doesn't make sense.
It's going big ridging again up to plus 10 to 15 after this atmospheric river.
Weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Payton, you did the records here.
Yeah, I was surprised because we boosted Tuesday's temperature to 60. So
I got kind of crazy. I figured south wind, atmospheric river. If the rain lifts slightly toward north, we're going to hit 60. So,
send it.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I think some people are celebrating. Snow lovers are going, wait.
Yeah.
Okay. 60 degrees happened in 1987 on Tuesday, which is the 9th. So we'll see if we tie that daily record. But other than that, we'll probably be within 5 degrees plus.
I didn't point out that what'll help is the entire period really from Friday through the middle of next week, we're in southerly wind the whole time.
That
helps.
Yeah, really warm overnight lows. That's wild.
The lows are going to go way up. Starting actually Friday night, the lows are going to go above our typical highs.
Right.
For 5 days.
Crazy.
Some people are not going to be happy about that.
I was going to say, at least we're not melting snow that's already on the slopes, but does it really matter in this case? There's none there, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's at least you can save some money on your heat bill this month.
Quite a bit. I like that. I'm frugal.
King tides are happening. If you're listening on Thursday, today. through Saturday. So there's the times. Basically, this is not going to be as dramatic and fun as the one in November because we don't have a huge coastal storm happening at the same time. But just something to keep in mind. It's going to be cool and happens again, I think, early January. So you have another shot.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, you've got your interview racked up and ready to go, Payton?
Sure do. Yes, we'll listen to Gail Zuro. She'll talk about winter preparedness and how emergency managers get the community prepared for basically inclement weather.
So Camila and I, we're out.
I'm ready.
Seven p.m. Either way, we're grateful you're here. I actually have a special guest with me. This is Gail Zuro. She's an emergency manager for response and recovery at Multnomah County. How are you doing, Gail?
I'm doing great, Payton. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, of course. And I will say I have mad respect for emergency managers. I took 3 or 4 emergency management classes in college, loved it, but it was so interesting to see obviously all the emergencies that could happen. I mean, way outside of weather, obviously, there's, shootings and disasters caused by humans and then disasters not caused by humans. And I was just, it was over my head, but I loved it. So thank you for all you do, first of all.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course. Okay, so emergency management, I think we hear about, obviously, your job, and we hear from you a lot when things are going on. But what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, it depends on what color the sky is, right? So if we're in blue sky time, depending on what program that you might be working on at the time or a project you might be working on, it might be doing community outreach. So we have a really great program being run by one of my coworkers for that. So someone might be tabling at an event or doing an outreach presentation. We could also be doing ordering supplies and getting them in. We can be repalletizing materials to get ready to distribute out to a shelter if that's what we need. We are participating in trainings and exercises and writing reports and being in meetings and all that kind of stuff. So every day, I mean, that's one thing, if you're going to get into emergency management, it's really one thing you have to consider is that every day is different. And you kind of got to roll with it, with whatever happens. During gray sky times, it's still kind of day-to-day stuff, but it's all about the activation we're in. Let's just say we're in winter weather activation. So, we start off with meetings with many people from both inside and outside the county to talk about what it is we're going to do today, how the day is going to go. And then we have sub meetings that happen to make sure everyone's on the same page and, rowing the boat in the same direction. And then our teams start getting materials out there. We start making sure that there are staff members to fill shifts at the shelters, et cetera. And those are long days, as you can imagine. We try and support the shelters, especially when they're 24 hours, for example. We need to support them well into the evening. So it's like I said, every day is different.
Yeah, definitely. And especially to bring up the winter events.
Yeah.
It's a bad word around here.
Same
the
here.
S word, snow. So just kidding. It's not a bad word around this time, but it's always we could trigger chaos at the station, so we try not to. So let's say there is a large storm coming. You mentioned obviously what happens before, but what happens during and then after the event?
Yeah, well, to go back to before for a minute, we work really closely. We start bringing people together when we see something on the horizon. And just to be clear that we go with the National Weather Service. They support us. They provide us briefings. As you probably know, they provide us both email briefings and verbal briefings as well. And they're always available for us to ask questions. So when we see something on their horizon that we should be concerned about, we'll start convening individuals from the county, some from outside the county, which includes City of Portland, City of Gresham, our other cities, et cetera, to just kind of talk about, hey, here's what's coming. Maybe we do or do not have to take action, but let's be aware of it. And we also get comms involved at that point because we want to start ramping up the outreach to the community via social media posts, press releases to our broadcast friends and our print friends as well, to make sure that people, of course, they're hearing the forecast, but here are some things you can do about it. Make sure your car has half a tank of gas. Make sure that you have blankets and a snack and water in your car, that kind of thing. So always trying to get ahead of that, and having something ahead of us is a great instigator for that. So people hear it and can maybe apply it very soon, as opposed to doing preseason messaging, which we also do, which can get lost when you have a November like we've had, which has been kind of warm and not so rainy.
Absolutely.
So that's before. And then during, of course, like I described already, we have lots of meetings. We're constantly making sure supplies are getting out, that reports are getting written, that we have situational awareness for ourselves and our leaderships so that they can make decisions appropriately. And then, of course, after, like I said earlier, we do surveys and we check in with people who have worked in our shelters, have worked with us here in logistics and in other teams to see how things went. Because we know how things went, but we also know how things are supposed to go. So it's really great to have that outside picture. And then, of course, we wrap up things with press as well, press and social media and whatnot. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, tons of steps goes into something as simple as a little bit of snow in the forecast. But as we've experienced, a little bit of snow can be a big problem.
It can be, especially for our houseless community, right? Snow, freezing rain, very cold temperatures. So what some of us may feel is more of an inconvenience, for them, it could be life-threatening. So we absolutely want to make sure that we're taking the actions, not just if we're setting up sheltering, but also for our outreach teams. So our outreach teams will go out there. They'll have extra supplies that we provide to try and help our houseless community be able to deal with that weather.
Yeah, so important. And I think, we often think about keeping ourselves safe, our families safe, but there's so many people out there that need this help. And it's not just winter, it's obviously any kind of inclement weather, the heat, the wildfire smoke. I mean, there's so much that could impact us.
Flooding on Johnson Creek, for example.
Yes, Burns Star flooding as well. And we have it pretty good here, don't we?
Yeah, we really do.
I know. Okay, so have you ever, obviously this happens to us all the time, so I'm sure you've dealt with it. When you're in the middle of an event, it's probably a winter event, and things go from a mild winter storm to all of a sudden, we got 10 to 14 inches on the ground. Do you often have to just do a 180 and go, okay, here's what we have to do now?
Well, our thresholds kind of guide us with that. And so, like in the event you are referencing, we, in what was that, February of 23? I can't remember now.
Yes.
But we had already prepared to start opening up shelters for several days. Our outreach teams have already been out in the field checking in with our houseless communities. We've already been putting out social media and other communications. We have a whole team that reaches out to apartment managers, reminding them to check in on their residents, making sure everyone stays warm and dry. So going from potentially 2 inches of snow, which would be above our threshold, to 10, what really that impacts is our ability to get around town, right? And be able to be as responsive as we would like to a shelter needing more supplies. Doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means we have to do a little bit more planning. We have to make sure we've got our studded tires or our chains, making sure everyone is comfortable driving in that weather, making sure that they have extra supplies in the vehicles. That sort of thing is what, when you go from 2 to 10 inches, really does for us. And the same thing kind of happens the other direction, right? So we may get snow tonight and then we don't get snow. We've still probably already taken the step to open up those shelters so that we can make sure people are safe. At least then we'll just keep that going overnight and we'll end everything in the morning depending on what the situation is. But that's happened as well, right? So, weather is, I know meteorology is a science, but it's not just a science, right? It's an art. Yes. And especially here in Portland, it can be so difficult. So we just do our best to get the best information we can from the National Weather Service and have internal conversations with, subject matter experts to help guide what our response is going to be.
Yeah. And you got to really plan for everything. So
we kind of do. Yeah. And that includes non-winter things, as you mentioned. not another.
Definitely. Yeah, this cough, what was it, 2021? Yes,
The heat dome?
2021 heat wave. Yes. I lived
Yeah,
there, and
that was our first time. I'd only been with the county about a year at that point, and we had been doing COVID. So that was one of my first, not my first, but one of my first responses. And it was the biggest summer response that this group has ever done, the county's ever done, because we just haven't needed it before then. So, boy, talk about learning a lot kind of right then and there.
Yes, and it was beyond probably a threshold that you guys even thought of, just like we did. I mean, we never thought we'd ever get above 110, let alone, break a crazy record.
Well, and what that can impact, like we had trouble finding food because so many restaurants had to close down because their air conditioner systems couldn't keep their employees safe, like in the kitchens and stuff like that. Like you'd never think that. You'd think you can always go somewhere and get a pizza or get, 35 pizzas, from a couple places to deliver to a shelter. But, that was a real challenge for us while, when that was going on. And, ice was getting limited and all kinds of stuff. Water wasn't available for a while to like restock our bottled water supply. So yeah, it was a huge learning experience with unfortunate consequences.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we won't speak about that event anymore. That one's not great. Okay, so you mentioned obviously local communication. You talk to counties, you talk to apartment complexes, obviously the National Weather Service. When would you have to make it more of a state or even a federal response?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about a federal response because so number one thing about emergency management is all emergencies are local. So you start at the lowest level as possible to see if that can be handled there. And then you move up with every level. So for us, if we had a situation, which we've had, where we can't do X, we go to the state and we say, state, we need help to do X. And then the state says, we're on the way, or we have to go to the federal government, or we have to there's interstate compacts that we can go see if that thing or that service we need is available from a neighboring state. Can Washington help us? Idaho help us, etc. So that's how it kind of works. So the city of Portland, for example, if they need help with something, they will come to us. And if we can take care of it, great. If we can't, then we can move that request up through the ranks. So it's definitely a whole county response. So we've had like that February storm, right? We had 10 inches, but Hillsborough had practically nothing. So Washington County was available to help if we needed it. Whereas we've helped Washington County with supplies, let's say, when they've needed it and we didn't. So we definitely have great relationships with the region, and we definitely work together to support each other when all kinds of events happen. I mean, we're all here to help each other be successful in addressing this emergency for our community.
Yeah, all hands on deck, especially when it comes to big events. So you obviously have to do a lot of communicating. And communication, I think the most effective way to get the word out is always a question I'm trying to answer. I think everybody's trying to answer, especially when you're in that communication realm. So in your opinion, what have you found as some of the most effective ways to communicate?
Well, we have a wonderful communications team here in the county, and that's really a good question for them because they can tell us more like what got the best responses. But obviously social media posts, obviously we do a lot of interviewing during an event. My director, Chris Voss, is often in front of the camera. Sometimes they're here at the warehouse, and that helps a lot to be able to get the message out. But I think we have teams within the county, and I'm sure the cities have them as well, where they can target the most vulnerable populations, which may not always be our houseless community. In the summer, sometimes that's almost as much housed as it is. And so we have programs and program leaders that will really communicate directly with those vulnerable populations in whatever mechanism that they need to use. And that really does help. I mean, we've definitely seen improvement in that as we've built out, as I mentioned earlier, these the list of managers of these apartment complexes. As they've taken the effort to communicate with that group, we've really definitely seen some improvements in that area as well. So I think trying to be broad and specific at the same time, which is a lot of work for our comms team and for our other programs who are reaching out, making a call down list of dozens and dozens and dozens of calls that need to be made to make sure that those vulnerable folks are safe.
Right. And it becomes a time crunch situation, especially with weather events, which makes it that much more of a huge task.
And I think I think it's really important that everyone remembers to have multiple ways to get notified, whether it's TV or radio or apps like yours, or knowing and understanding wireless emergency alerts. You know, we did that test back in August where we sent out a message to everybody in the county, and it was super successful. And it also gave us a lot of insight to what people did or didn't know about how this works and if they can opt in or opt out and all of that. So, you know, we're going to be developing probably in the next year or so communication, outreach program to try and educate the community about these alerts. So it's just really important that you have lots of ways to receive them.
Yes, so important, because it might not just be your phone. Maybe you have the TV on
Absolutely.
as well, or that radio is so helpful, especially when you lose power or if you're in a remote area, it still works.
Yep.
I always say, I know it's a weather radio, and I know it may be old fashioned, but it works.
Yeah, a NOAA radio is great. It's not that expensive, and it's really handy in emergencies. And a lot of times you can get them like with cranks, so you can like charge your phone. You know, things like that.
That's always exciting. We're like all excited about cranking up the radio. Okay. I love it. Okay, so what's something you've learned, or maybe just even your team as a county, you have to learn from past events? Because you're talking, obviously, there's a lot of debrief after something happens. What are some of those things and conversations you guys have?
Yeah, it's sometimes it is about communications. Did we communicate too early or too late? Did we communicate the right things? We learn about training. What does our staff and volunteers and staff from other jurisdictions need to be successful, for example, in our severe weather shelters? It's, do we need all this stuff? And if so, when do we need it? You know, when does it need to get there? Communication, information, training, that's usually where the biggest improvements can be. It's not if we should buy one kind of bottled water or another, right? It's bigger than that, right?
Right.
That's the kind of feedback we want, because that's how you improve the program and bring it to a place where it just runs smooth as possible in any kind of event. So even though we do a lot of severe weather sheltering, that translates to any kind of emergency sheltering we may have to do. If we have to work with the Red Cross, for example, to evacuate a neighborhood because of some incident that's happened, you know, knowing that we have all those supplies and we know how to deploy them, you know, helps a lot. And so, that's kind of, I think that's a lot of what we hear after an event and what we strive to try and improve on. Sometimes it takes a couple more events or the next season to really implement some of the improvements, but it's really great that we get that feedback from everybody involved.
Yeah, and we always welcome feedback too. I mean, obviously, if the forecast changes, we're just as frustrated. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. We're not just sitting, back eating popcorn and going, oh, didn't work this time. You know, we are, trying to figure out what happened, what can we do better next time? And going back to weather, it is an art.
And it's tough, right? Because we have to make decisions that will impact people and budgets on the best available information. And we just do the best we can to always err on the side of safety for ourselves and our community. But you're right. I mean, sometimes it just goes the other way.
Yes, it does. How do you see your job changing in 10 years? Big question.
I think that's tough. I think as an industry, emergency management has really matured and developed. And I think that will continue with certifications and trainings and more recognition of what we do. I think that's for the industry as a whole. I think specifically we're going to have to get more emergency managers will have to get savvier when it comes to navigating the difficult situations sometimes we're in, whether it's budget or policy. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. And then of course, technology, right? Things are constantly changing. Even just when we send out alerts, the alerting systems are changing constantly. There's bigger and better all the time. And just being able to kind of always be going with the flow of technology, budgeting, policies, environment, climate change is going to be huge impact to the industry coming up here. And it already has been. I mean, just look at the last 10 years alone. In your data, it's crazy how much the climate has changed already. So, being aware of that and what does that mean for your community, you have to add that in now when you're thinking about hazards that you want to mitigate and have your community prepared for, is what does a changing climate mean for your community as well, including trying to think outside the box of things that you never had to deal with that you might have to deal with now because of climate change or other environmental changes.
Exactly. I think there's so much information nowadays, so much, and it just gets noisy. And I think even sometimes, I step outside my meteorology hat and I just pretend, I'm just, a person who knows nothing about weather, nothing about what's happening. And I would go on my social media and it's just, post after post after speculation after crazy graphic with all these numbers and colors on it. And I mean, I can't even imagine looking at that. I would be scared out of my mind. I mean, you just don't know what's going on. And so I kind of back to the emphasis on make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts. Also, make sure you're getting your information from a trustworthy source and not just Joe Schmo on Instagram because he told you you're going to have grapefruit-sized hail. It's not always true.
Yeah, I know that you all have been definitely talking about that a lot lately, with reposting things that just didn't seem reasonable about, I don't know, what, like feet of snow in Portland next week or something silly. You really do have to be careful. There are a lot of great websites. Like I said, we primarily focus on NWS, but there are a lot of other great websites from everyone from meteorologists like at utilities, for example. They put out really good websites. So there's lots of places to get, all the news stations. We peek over at all of your forecasts as well when things are getting going. So there's a lot of good, like you said, trusted sources that you can go to for information. Yeah. And really just trying to remember that 5 to 7 days out is the sweet spot. Everyone puts out predictions on what winter is going to be like, but we just won't know until 5 to 7 days out. I would emphasize that, which I'm sure you all do repeatedly, but that's your best bet. And even that can sometimes change, but trying to look out like, middle of December is supposed to be colder. Who knows what's going to happen? That's a month away. They don't know for sure.
Yeah, they do not. That is so funny. I'm laughing because this is a very common topic back in the Weather Center. We're going, why did they say it's going to snow in February 15th? You're like, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. So, one more thing I was going to talk about, and I'm blanking, hold on, is obviously with communication tactics. Do you guys focus, and you mentioned earlier, you focus on getting ahead of the game. So we're getting close to winter. You may start communicating, hey, make sure you cover your plants when it's frosty, or have those alerts on, or change your tires to snow tires if you're up in the mountains. So how do you think people can find that information? Where's the best place to find that stuff?
Oh yeah, so we have lots of places at Multnomah County's website, but the best place is to go to Multco. That's multco.us/cold. That's a great place to start to get all sorts of information. There's ways to contact people if you have further questions, if you want to volunteer to help us in the shelters. Some events are long enough and serious enough where we may need community volunteers to help us in the shelters. So there's a whole place where you can go find that information on our website as well. Those are some places. And then sometimes it's just in social media posts. Sometimes it's in the community outreach presentations that we do. Talking to your neighbors, that's the biggest thing, right? You take care of yourself, your family, your neighbors, and things will be just fine. And reminding your neighbors, like, have a half a tank of gas. Have a blanket in the car just in case. Try not to go out today. It's supposed to get icy. Check on your elderly neighbors, your neighbors with access and functional needs. Make sure they're okay. Try and prepare for power outages. Some preparedness is better than no preparedness. So, we can give you a list of 100 things that you should have. But if you can just try and stay home when you don't have to go out when there's 3 inches of snow on the road, that would be great. That helps everybody. So so a lot of that stuff you can find at /cold at multco.us/cold. And mulco.us/EM for emergency management is another great place to go for all sorts of community-based information.
Great. And I also want to mention, because holiday season's coming up and obviously discounts are coming up left and right, great gifts for people is a good emergency kit. If you've got a 16-year-old just started to drive, give them a car emergency kit. It's just so important to have that. I was at my friend's house the other day and I saw a tote box in their garage that said emergency kit, and I was like, you guys are doing it right. Good job. But I know not everybody has that. So.
Right, and not everybody can do that. So, we talk about when we're tabling events, like start where you can. I ask people, hey, next time you get a new pair of walking shoes or running shoes or shoes of any kind, put the other pair under your bed. Because if an earthquake happens, this isn't for weather, right? We didn't talk about earthquake, which thankfully, but if an earthquake happens, you may have to walk across broken glass to get out of your house. So make sure you have shoes under your bed if you don't have shoes in your room. So, they're like, yeah, actually I have a spare pair. Then they feel like they've gotten started. So, that's really important to encourage our community to start somewhere, because somewhere is better than nowhere. So for preparedness of all kinds, weather, earthquake, whatever.
Fire. We can name 50 things.
Wildfires. Like, the list is long.
It is.
If you're going to go to the coast, there's all kinds of things to be prepared for. But you can start small. And we'd love for you to just start anywhere.
Yeah, I love that. Start somewhere. Just start. That's, right. That's all that matters. Do you have anything else to add, Gail?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd like to say that it takes a village, right? It's not just me, obviously. There's 18 of us in Multnomah County. And there's jurisdictions all throughout the area that may have just one person who's trying to do emergency management. So anyone is asked, if you get an ask for volunteering or anything, think about it, because you could be helping not just yourselves and your neighbors, but your community as well. So we're really fortunate to have such a strong team here where we can do a lot of extra things that a lot of other jurisdictions can't. And we're here to support all of Multnomah County, not just the city of Portland or Gresham, but also Troutdale, Wood Village, Corbett, everyone. We're here to support the best that we can with the team that we have. So, we're really lucky that way. And I guess that would be what I would want to finish with. And again, remind everyone to please have multiple ways to receive emergency messages.
Yes, we are digging in that message. Come on, people.
Yes. Winter coming.
Yes, we are. All right, Gail, well, thank you so much for your time. I've learned so much about emergency management. I'm sure, obviously, lots of our viewers have too. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, and thanks a lot for having me.
All right, thank you so much for listening there. Here's that screen you might have seen at the end of the interview, in case you missed it, some resources that Gail wanted me to share with you. Basically, all you need to know about cold weather. And it says Multnomah County, but this applies for most of our region as well.
I do feel kind of at one with those folks, because they, just like, the ODOT folks and the PGE people, the power companies, we are just like them in that when the weather gets crazy, most people just stay home and, just wait it out. Yeah, we all have to work really hard during those times.
Yeah.
Like Gail. Yeah.
And if you want to work during inclement weather, they really need volunteers for the shelters. So
that's good. Yeah, that's
that
true.
was that final link there in case you didn't catch it.
There it is. There you go.
Okay. Term of the week time.
This was my idea. So Payton put this together, but it was my idea since we were talking about the big ridge of high pressure offshore.
Yes. Basically, ridge correlates with highs. Troughs usually correlate with lows. Think ridge. I mean, it looks how it sounds. It's basically a ridge in the atmosphere, right? What would you call it?
Like a ridge or trough. I mean, we don't normally say that, but like it is a fluid. The atmosphere is a fluid, right? And so just like water, the waves, there's a trough of a wave, and I guess they don't call it a ridge usually, but kind of like that, same idea. But we're looking at the flow through the atmosphere, high up in the atmosphere. Same thing happens. There are dips and rises.
Yes, and usually a ridge is anticyclonic.
Ooh, I love that word. Love it.
Me too. Basically, it's clockwise motion, and if you see counterclockwise motion, usually that's a trough or cyclonic flow.
Did either of you two watch The Crown when it was out, the show on Netflix?
No.
I heard of it, but no.
I guess I'm a big Brit person, apparently. But when they had this horrible event, one whole episode was about this deadly inversion event, high pressure, back in 1957, I believe, that killed, thousands of people. Because remember, they used all coal back then.
Oh, because of the pollution?
Yeah, and each day pollution was so bad, like people would get hit by cars in the street. And there was an inversion with wintertime and inversion. And what I remember is the radio, they kept having the radio guy each morning. He said, once again, the anticyclone sits directly over the great British Isles. And they call them anticyclones, which is high pressures, and cyclones are the low pressures, which makes meteorologically totally makes sense. But it was funny, we wouldn't refer to it that way here.
No,
but there it is.
Sounds scary to most people, probably.
The anticyclone.
Yeah, sounds.
But it's okay
ominous.
if the news people say bomb cyclone somehow.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
There you go. And there's a great, you can see the dip there, those dips.
Does this remind you of school, guys? I remember we had to hand write these, and I did the little dashes.
Yeah.
And
the
the zigzags, good stuff. So this just takes you back to the basics, but you can see the trough is the dash line, and the ridge is the zigzag.
There's zigzag. We tend to have rising motions within the troughs, and we tend to have sinking motions under the ridges too. And as each one approaches, the same thing. As a trough approaches, you tend to have lifting. As a ridge approaches, you tend to have sinking motions. And you have it right there.
There we go.
I had a producer once when I worked over at Coin, like in the 90s. He goes, "Oh, I get it. H is good, L is bad. It's that simple."
Yeah.
And there you go.
Generally, that's probably how people want to think about it.
And we have a ridge just offshore.
There it is. Yeah, I just want to show what, this is for tomorrow, but what that ridge looks like now that you can identify the ridge and the trough with that blue to the east.
And Payton, I think you've heard this before, Camila, but I told Payton that when it's really a flat ridge like this, especially when we're talking warm season stuff, when we thought there'd be a ridge over us and instead, some showers are squeaking over the top of the ridge, we call that a dirty ridge. I've used that with you before, right? That phrase?
Dirty
ridge.
I've heard you say dirty ridge before, yeah.
Yeah, did you kind of squirm a little bit? Is that kind of weird?
I mean, I've heard you say worse.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I'm saying that's small potatoes compared to what can come out of your mouth sometimes.
True. Anyway, we call that a dirty ridge because it's not a clean ridge. It's not cutting everything off. It's not all sunshine, but the systems are getting through. So.
Well, sloppy. Can we use sloppy ridge?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems almost as weird as dirty.
Yeah, I don't
Let's not say dirty or sloppy within a weathercast.
Maybe not.
This is a nice clean ridge, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
11:24. So we're going back because we missed a podcast last week for Thanksgiving, but we had Michelle Green send us this lovely photo. Apparently it was really cloudy over most of the I-5 corridor, but sunshine at Seaside.
Must have been an
inversion day.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's see. We have James Williams from Goldendale, Washington. Beautiful sunrise on 11:23.
Goldendale's a pretty area. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And this one's so pretty. This old barn. This was from this morning, as we're recording this on Wednesday, December 3rd. But Sarah Alvarez, she always has great photos. Shout out to Sarah. Incredible photos, actually. I was tied between this one and another beautiful coast sunset she had as well. But
do we have that one?
That's it. No, sorry. Maybe
we
next
have to go back and get that for next. That was a tease.
Yeah.
Right there.
Sorry, Sarah.
So if we had a big windstorm, would you stand in that barn?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
There was 4 feet of snow. Would you stand in that barn?
No.
Scary.
Yeah.
But it looks good in the photos. We like that.
It's pretty. We'll take your pictures, though, anytime,
Please.
any day.
Yeah, we love seeing them.
Good stuff through the app. We love the app, or kptv.com/weather. Good stuff.
We love the app.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is it. I think that's all we have for today. We had a nice long podcast here. So we're going to see about next week. If something comes up, like, if we were to have a real flood on the way or something, we might do an emergency podcast just to cover it. But make sure you're watching our First Alert Weather Extras at 7 p.m. each weeknight, because it's kind of like this, except we go on in quite a bit of detail, looking through the different weather patterns and whatnot. So 7 p.m. streaming app. Just have it up there beside your Apple and your Netflix and your Amazon on your smart TV. And you can just sit on your couch. You can have a drink, enjoy dinner, and look at all this geekery with us.
Excellent.
There we go.
Informed.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We have two more podcasts the next 2 weeks before we get to Christmas time. So we will see you next week on the First Alert Weather Podcast. And thanks for joining us.
Please tell us